English 316 folks, and welcome to week 2. This week we are moving from talking about simple sentences into talking about parts of speech. And although one might think that we should go in the opposite direction, that is starting off with the little words and then building up to the strings of words, it's actually better to talk about simple sentences first and then parts of speech, because parts of speech are slippery. You might think you know a noun, right? A person, place, or thing. But once you put the word into the sentence, a noun could become an adjective. It could become a verb. As we've seen with words like text, which are nouns, and now they've become verbs like texting. So it's really necessary to watch not only the word itself and its meanings, but also what happens when the word is inserted into a string of other words, because the surrounding words and their functions affect the what part of speech is being enacted. So yay. isn't English fun? I guess I'm always sort of amazed by the miracle of language. It is so complicated, and yet there are patterns to it that allow us to understand and manipulate how we communicate with others. So anyway, I hope you'll enjoy this work. We'll be doing parts of speech. We'll also be reading the Freeman and Freeman chapter in Weaver, and it's toward the end of the Weaver book. So do look, I think it's pages 270 something. So do look for it. If you still are waiting on your textbooks, I have PDF copies of Freeman and Freeman and Morenberg chapter 1, which is our other reading for this week. They're in the week 2 module. So you can go ahead and get started even if you don't have the textbook. We'll also be doing a little bit of writing in response to the Freeman and Freeman article, and then we'll move into some playing around with Morenberg's ideas. So the Morenberg book is all about sentence combining, and sentence combining is a strategy that scholars argue assists learners in acquiring sentence elements, understanding of sentence elements. That is, if we can take simple sentences and combine them into more complicated sentences in different ways, we'll learn to understand those different patterns, the different combinations, and the way that they happen just by inhabiting them, living in them, and constructing them. It's a little bit different from the typical grammar workbook exercise in that it asks you to do the creation of the combination. And in chapter 1, the combinations can be any kind of combinations. We're just going to break sentences apart and put them back together differently, just to play with the different effects of language. But once we start to move through the chapters of Morenberg, you'll see there'll be different patterns that we'll be trying to achieve by using the sentence combining. And those patterns may require punctuation, right? So as we start to manipulate language from the inside, we come inductively toward the rules that govern conventional English. So I hope that this method of grammar instruction is more effective than the traditional method, which is to break things down, give you the rule, have you practice the rule, and then goodbye. This has to do with creatively taking sentences apart and putting them back together, as we do in our own writing all the time without noticing it. So this is an attempt to help us see this work that we do, that we have done since we were babies, starting to put words into sentences and creating communication moments. Notice that you are in control of most of the complexity that's happening. And our goal in this class is to increase that level of control, pushing into the kinds of patterns and uses of language that are happening unconsciously. We're trying to make them conscious. So the trick really is to, again, as I said, work from the inside of language and move from there toward the rules, because the rules are late to the game, right? They are being mapped onto the way language is used, and language is always changing. So as we encounter English in the wild, we may see that there are things in it that we can't describe or control yet. And so we're always moving toward increased understanding. It's maybe never perfect. Well, I hope you'll enjoy the work we do this week. I am looking forward to getting back to your submissions, and I'll be doing that in the next couple days so that the grade book will be up to date and you can know how you're doing with the week 1 materials and the information they include. So that's coming. I thank you for your patience, and I look forward to reading the work you'll produce this week as well. Have a great week.